March 7th, 2026. That's the day Social Security changed forever. Not because Congress passed a law, not because the president signed an executive order, because the Social Security Administration quietly flipped a switch that fundamentally changed how your benefits get processed. And nobody told you. Barbara Conquo is 67 years old. She lives in Houston, Texas. She worked as a registered nurse for 38 years before her knees gave out. She'd been putting off filing for Social Security because she wanted to wait until 70 to maximize her benefit. Then her husband Marcus had a stroke. He's recovering, but he can't work anymore. They need that Social Security income now, not in 3 years. Barbara drove to her local Social Security office on March the 12th. She'd been to that office twice before over the years to get replacement Social Security cards. She knew where to park. She knew to bring her documents. She even arrived early. The security guard stopped her at the door. "Do you have an appointment?" Barbara said, "No, I need to file for my retirement benefits. My husband had a stroke. We need the income." The guard said, "Ma'am, we don't take walk-ins anymore. You need to call the 800 number and schedule an appointment." Barbara said, "How long until I can get an appointment?" The guard said, "I don't know, ma'am. You have to call." Barbara went home and called. She was on hold for 2 hours and 43 minutes. When she finally got through, the agent told her the earliest available appointment at her local office was May 28th, 77 days away. Barbara said, "But I need to file now. My husband had a stroke. We need the income." The agent said, "I understand, ma'am. I can take your application over the phone if you'd like." Barbara said, "Okay, let's do that." The agent started asking questions. Name, date of birth, Social Security number, work history. Then the agent asked, "What is your primary insurance amount?" Barbara said, "My what?" The agent said, "Your PIA, the amount you'd receive at your full retirement age. It's on your Social Security statement." Barbara said, "I don't have that in front of me. Can you look it up?" The agent said, "I can see it's approximately $2,340 per month at your full retirement age of 66 and 8 months. You're now 67. If you file today, your benefit would be approximately $2,220 per month because you've earned delayed retirement credits." Barbara said, "Okay, that sounds right." The agent said, "Now I see your husband is also in our system. Is he currently receiving Social Security benefits?" Barbara said, "No, he was waiting until 72, but he just had a stroke. He's 68. The agent said, "I see. Would you also like to file an application for his retirement benefits?" Barbara hesitated. She said, "I don't know, should I? I mean, he's recovering. He might be able to work again." The agent said, "That's your decision, ma'am. I can only process applications. I can't provide advice on when to file." Barbara didn't know what to do. She needed money now, but she didn't want to make a mistake with Marcus's benefits. She asked if she could speak to someone who could help her figure out the best strategy. The agent said, "Ma'am, we process applications. We don't provide financial planning advice. You'd need to speak to a financial advisor for that." Barbara filed her own application over the phone. She didn't file for Marcus because she wasn't sure what to do. 2 weeks later, Barbara called Michelle. She'd seen one of Michelle's videos about spousal coordination strategies. She explained her situation. Michelle said, "Barbara, here's what the agent didn't tell you. Because Marcus had a stroke and can't work, he might be eligible for Social Security disability benefits, not just retirement. Disability benefits don't have the same reduction for early filing that retirement benefits have. And if Marcus files for disability and gets approved, you might be eligible for spousal benefits on his record, in addition to your own retirement benefit." Barbara said, "Nobody mentioned disability. Nobody mentioned spousal benefits. They just asked if I wanted to file for his retirement." Michelle said, "That's because the agent's job is to process applications. They're not allowed to advise you on strategy. They can only answer the specific question you ask." Barbara said, "But I didn't know what questions to ask." And that's the problem. That's what changed on March 7th. The system that was already difficult to navigate became nearly impossible for people who don't know the insider language. Michelle is Dr. Michelle Graham. Michelle spent 23 years inside the Social Security Administration as a claims processing supervisor. Michelle helped design one of the paperless processing systems the agency still uses today. And Michelle is watching everything Michelle worked to build get dismantled piece by piece. What happened on March 7th isn't the end of Social Security. The checks are still going out, the benefits still exist. But the way you access those benefits has fundamentally changed. And if you don't know the new rules, you're going to lose money. Michelle is going to tell you exactly what changed. Michelle is going to give you the specific words to say to get past the security guards. And Michelle is going to show you who's actually in charge of your local Social Security office, so you know who to call when things go wrong. Comment below and tell Michelle what you need from Social Security right now. Are you trying to file for retirement? Comment retirement. Are you trying to file for disability? Comment disability. Are you trying to file for survivor benefits because you lost a spouse? Comment survivor. Are you trying to sign up for Medicare? Comment Medicare. Michelle needs to see what situations people are facing so Michelle can address the most urgent issues. Let Michelle explain what actually happened on March 7th. The Social Security Administration rolled out 2 new systems simultaneously: the National Appointment Scheduling Calendar, the National Workload Management System. In plain English, here's what these systems do. The National Appointment Scheduling Calendar means that when you call the 800 number to schedule an appointment, you're no longer automatically connected to your local office. Your appointment request goes into a national queue. You might get an appointment at your local office, or your case might be routed to an office in a completely different state. Before March 7th, if you lived in Dallas and called for an appointment, you got an appointment in Dallas. The Dallas office knew Texas rules. They knew Texas Medicaid integration. They knew the local judges for disability appeals. After March 7th, your Dallas case might be processed by someone in Nebraska, someone in Washington State, someone who has no idea how Texas supplements work or which local programs you might be eligible for. The National Workload Management System is related but different. This system routes pending cases to whatever office has capacity. So if you filed an application last month and it's waiting to be processed, that application might get sent anywhere in the country. If you call your local Dallas office to check on your case, the person who answers might say, "I'm sorry, that case isn't in our system. It was routed to another office for processing." Where? They don't know. When will it be done? They can't tell you. Who's working on it? No idea. Your case is somewhere in the country, maybe. Now, in theory, these systems could eventually be good things. Workload balancing makes sense. If one office is overwhelmed and another has capacity, routing work to the office with capacity is logical. But here's the problem. These systems were rolled out in March 2026 after the agency had already lost thousands of employees to cuts, relocations, and early retirement incentives. They're implementing a complex national system with a skeleton crew that's never used the system before. The bugs haven't been worked out. Cases are getting lost, processing times are increasing, and the people who answer the phones have even less ability to help you than before because they can't see where your case went. This is what Barbara walked into. A system in chaos during a transition period staffed by people who are doing their best but don't have the tools or training to help her. Let Michelle tell you about the Medicare trap because this is catching thousands of people right now. Starting in March 2026, Medicare applications are being processed by artificial intelligence instead of human claim specialists. In the past, when you filed a Medicare application, a human being reviewed it. That human being would look at your work record and notice if you were still working. They'd ask questions like, "Do you have health insurance through your employer? Does your employer have 20 or more employees? Does your spouse have employer coverage?" If you answered yes to those questions, the human would say, "Wait, you might not need Medicare Part B right now. You have what's called creditable coverage through your employer. If you enroll in Part B now, you'll be paying $185 a month for coverage you don't need. Come back when your employer coverage ends." The AI doesn't ask those questions. The AI sees that you're 65 or older, sees that you applied for Medicare, and processes the application. Approved. You're now enrolled in Part B. That's $185 per month automatically deducted from your Social Security check. If you have creditable employer coverage, you're paying for coverage you don't need, and you'll keep paying until you notice the deduction, figure out what happened, call Social Security, and go through the process of disenrolling from Part B. That process takes months, and during those months you're paying $185 per month for nothing. Michelle has heard from 4 people in the last 2 weeks who got enrolled in Part B when they shouldn't have been. All 4 were still working with employer coverage. All 4 filed Medicare applications online. All 4 got automatically approved by the AI. None of them realized it until they saw the deduction from their Social Security check. If you're turning 65 and you still have employer coverage, Do not file for Medicare Part B online. Call Social Security and talk to a human. Tell them you have creditable coverage. Make sure they understand your situation before anything gets processed. Better yet, don't file at all until you actually need Part B. You can file for Part A, which is free for most people, without filing for Part B. Here's the phrase to use. I want to enroll in Medicare Part A only. I have creditable coverage through my employer, and I do not want Part B at this time. Write that down. Say those exact words. Don't let the AI make decisions about your healthcare coverage. Let Michelle tell you about Curtis, because Curtis shows you what happens when the system fails and you don't know how to fight back. Curtis Tibito is 63 years old. He lives in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He was a long-haul truck driver for 31 years. Last year, he was in an accident that destroyed his right shoulder. He can't drive anymore. He can't lift more than 10 pounds. He applied for Social Security disability. Curtis filed his application in November 2025. He called in January 2026 to check on the status. The agent said it was still processing. He called in February. Same answer. He called on March 14th. The agent said, "I don't see your application in our system." Curtis said, "What do you mean? I filed it in November. I have the confirmation number." The agent said, "Sir, I'm showing no record of an application under your Social Security number." Curtis's application disappeared. Gone. 4 months of waiting and the system has no record he ever filed. Curtis was furious. He demanded to speak to a supervisor. The agent put him on hold for 45 minutes. Then the call dropped. Curtis called back. Another 2-hour wait. He got a different agent. Same answer. No application on file. Curtis drove to his local Social Security office in Baton Rouge. The security guard stopped him at the door. "Do you have an appointment?" Curtis said, "No, but my disability application disappeared from your system. I've been waiting 4 months. I need to speak to someone." The guard said, "Sir, we don't take walk-ins. You need to call and schedule an appointment." Curtis said, "I called. Nobody can help me. They say my application doesn't exist." The guard said, "I understand, sir, but I can't let you in without an appointment." Curtis left. He went home. He didn't know what to do. Curtis found Michelle's channel 3 weeks ago. He sent Michelle a message explaining his situation. Michelle told him exactly what to say to get into that office. Curtis went back to the Baton Rouge office the next day. Same guard at the door. The guard said, "Sir, you were here last week. I told you we don't take walk-ins." Curtis said, "I'm in a dire need situation. I have an eviction notice. My disability application has been lost in your system for 4 months. I cannot wait for an appointment. I need to file a congressional inquiry and I need someone to help me locate my missing application." The guard paused. Then he said, "Wait here." The guard went inside. 2 minutes later, a woman came out. She said, "Sir, come with me." Curtis got inside. He spent 45 minutes with a claims specialist. They found his application. It had been in the National Workload Management queue but got stuck during the transition. It was sitting in digital limbo, not assigned to any office, not being processed. The claims specialist manually pulled the application and assigned it to the Baton Rouge office. Curtis's disability claim was finally actually in the system, getting processed by a human being. Without knowing the right words to say, Curtis would still be waiting. His application would still be lost, and in another few months he would have lost his apartment. Here are the magic words that get you past the security guard. I am in a dire need situation. That phrase is specifically defined in Social Security policy. It means you have an urgent issue that cannot wait for a standard appointment. When you say those words, the guard is supposed to get someone to help you. But dire need alone isn't always enough. You need to be specific. Here are the situations that qualify. I'm facing eviction and I need my benefits to start immediately. I need to sign up for Medicare Part B because my employer coverage ended, and I have a medical procedure scheduled in the next 2 weeks. My spouse just passed away and I need to file for survivor benefits to pay my bills. I have a disability that prevents me from working and I need to start the application process today. I'm traveling overseas next week and I need to resolve a benefit issue before I leave. When you combine dire need with a specific urgent situation, you're invoking policy language that the security guard and office staff recognize. They know they're supposed to help you. If the guard still refuses, ask for the office manager by name. And yes, you can know that name before you walk in the door. Michelle has compiled a list of every Social Security office in the country and who manages each one. over 1,200 offices. Michelle will show you how to find this information. Go to ssa.gov, search for Field Office Locator, enter your zip code. It will show you the address and phone number of your local office. Now here's what most people don't know. Every Social Security field office has an area director who oversees multiple offices. That area director reports to a regional commissioner. Those names are public information. When you walk into the office and the security guard won't let you in, say this: "I understand you have policies. I'm in a dire need situation. I'd like to speak with the office manager. If the office manager cannot help me, I will be contacting regional commissioner's name and filing a congressional inquiry through my representative's office." That sentence contains multiple pressure points. Dire need invokes policy. Asking for the office manager escalates within the office. Mentioning the regional commissioner shows you know the chain of command. Congressional inquiry means you're going to get a congressperson involved. Congressional inquiries are tracked. They go on the office's record. Managers do not want congressional inquiries on their record. They would much rather help you now than deal with a congressional complaint later. This isn't about being difficult or threatening. This is about knowing how to navigate a bureaucracy that is designed to make you give up. Comment below if you've been turned away from a Social Security office. Comment "turned away" if they refuse to help you without an appointment. Comment "got in" if you were able to get help. Michelle wants to see how widespread this problem is. Let Michelle explain the protective filing rule because this can save you hundreds or thousands of dollars. When you file for Social Security benefits, your benefits start based on the date you filed. If you file in March, your benefits start in March or April, depending on your birth date. If you file in May, your benefits start in May or June. Every month you delay filing is a month of benefits you don't receive. Once those months are gone, they're gone. You can't go back and claim them later. But what happens when you can't file because the system is broken? What happens when you call in March but can't get an appointment until May? That's where protective filing comes in. Protective filing means you call Social Security and tell them you want to file for benefits, even if they can't process your application that day. Even if they can't give you an appointment for 2 months, they record the date of your call. That date is your protective filing date. When your application is eventually processed, your benefits are backdated to your protective filing date. You get the benefits for March, even though your application wasn't completed until May. But here's the critical part. You have to specifically ask for protective filing. You have to say these words: "I want to establish a protective filing date for retirement, disability, survivor, Medicare benefits." If you don't say those words, they don't do it. They'll schedule your appointment for May and your benefits will start in May. You'll lose 2 months of payments. Say the words. Establish your protective filing date. Protect your money. Let Michelle tell you what's really happening behind the scenes, because once you understand the strategy, everything makes sense. Social Security has been underfunded for decades. Both parties have refused to properly staff the agency. At the beginning of 2025, the agency was at a 50-year low in staffing levels. They didn't have enough people to answer the phones. They didn't have enough people to process applications. They didn't have enough people to help the millions of Americans who depend on these benefits. Then the cuts came. Thousands of employees were relocated, reassigned, or pushed into early retirement. The agency that was already drowning got pushed further underwater. Now the same politicians who cut the funding are pointing at the chaos and saying, "See, government programs don't work. Social Security is broken. We need to privatize it." This is a strategy. It's called starve the beast. You cut funding until a program can't function. Then you use the dysfunction to argue the program should be eliminated. The goal is to get you so frustrated with Social Security that you give up, that you stop calling, that you stop showing up, that you accept whatever they give you without questioning whether it's correct. Don't fall for it. Social Security is your money. You paid into this system for 30, 40, 50 years. Every paycheck FICA taxes came out. That money funded the benefits of the people who came before you. And now it's your turn to collect. The politicians who want to privatize Social Security, who want to hand it over to Wall Street, they're counting on you giving up. They're counting on you being too tired, too frustrated, too overwhelmed to fight. Don't give them what they want. Learn the system, learn the words, know your rights. And when the security guard tries to turn you away, know exactly what to say to get the help you deserve. Let Michelle give you the action steps, the things you need to do right now to protect yourself. If you need to file for any Social Security benefit, Call the 800 number immediately and establish a protective filing date. Say those exact words. I want to establish a protective filing date. If you're turned away from a local office, use the phrase dire need situation and specify your urgent circumstance. Ask for the office manager by name. If you're turning 65 and you have employer health coverage, do not file for Medicare Part B online. Call and speak to a human. Make sure they understand you have creditable coverage before any application is processed. If you have a pending application that's taking too long, call your congressional representative's office. Ask for help with a federal agency. They will file a congressional inquiry. That inquiry gets tracked and prioritized. If your case seems lost in the system, go to your local office with the dire need language and ask them to manually locate your application in the National Workload Management System. Document everything. Write down the date and time of every call. Get the name of every person you speak with. Ask for confirmation numbers. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen. The system is harder to navigate than ever before, but it's not impossible. You just need to know the rules. Share this video with everyone you know who's dealing with Social Security. Your parents, your neighbors, the people at your church, because the agency isn't going to explain these strategies. The security guard isn't going to tell you the magic words. The agent on the phone isn't going to suggest you establish a protective filing date. They're doing their jobs, and their jobs don't include helping you maximize your benefits. That's your job, and now you know how to do it. Subscribe to this channel because things are changing fast. The March 7th transition is just the beginning. There will be more system changes, more staff cuts, more chaos. Michelle will be here explaining every twist, giving you the words to say, showing you the strategies that work. Barbara is now getting her Social Security benefits. Marcus filed for disability and his claim is pending. Curtis's disability application was found and is finally being processed. They got through the system because they learned the rules. Now you know the rules too.